Hey there, Gemini Ascendant. So this is your Ascendant forecast taking you from the 9th of August to the 23rd of August. That's a full moon in Aquarius right the way through to the new moon in Virgo. Now, if you're new to this channel, hi, my name's Louisa Tanner-Munson, and what I do is I create whole sign Western tropical forecasts from your sign's perspective, so from the ascendant's perspective. Now, if you are not a whole sign person, if you prefer a Placidus chart, then I recommend that you listen to this Gemini forecast and also listen to the Cancer forecast, because your first house is going to have Gemini and Cancer in. So just a thought. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is examining the period between the full moon and the new moon and what their biggest gifts are. In particular, I think that we are due for a massive rebirth, and we were really born for this. And here's why. Here's why I want to share with you, because, you know, I really feel that this full moon is about revealing ourselves. It's showing us how messy we are. It's showing us where we've had this mask for survival. It's really opened it up. And in the post full moon period leading up to the moment of the new moon, I think we've got this kind of pressure to refine ourselves and to go into a sort of purification, getting ready for a much bigger rebirth. Now, when I say that, it's because not only do we have one new moon in Virgo, but a whole month later on the 23rd of September, we've got a second new moon in Virgo. And this is unusual to have two new moons. It's not unheard of, but it's really unusual. You might get one in like every year, but you might not. It might skip. You know, it depends on which degrees these moons are happening at. So, you know, this is unusual. You know, everything that's coming up with this new moon in Virgo is going to come up as a repeated theme, and the second time round it's going to come up as an eclipse. So there's a lot going on. Now, I often do these with a much deeper dive about the actual moon phase that we're in, and with a really sort of detailed look at all the different aspects happening between the full moon and the new moon. Now, if you want that, I've put it as a separate video, and it's the astrological scoop. And if you click on this link up here, it will take you straight there. It's also in the description field, so don't forget about that. But anyway, what I'm going to be looking at this is I'm going to be examining two charts, the full moon in Aquarius chart and also the new moon in Virgo chart. And I'm going to be asking the following questions. So first of all, where has my mask been for survival? You know, what masks have you been wearing, you know, that have were set up when you were very young? And what might be a better way to express yourself? I'm also going to be looking at what truth about myself or my life has become impossible to ignore, and what would it take to shift it? So, I mean, this is, you know, when we see ourselves without the mask, this is what's coming up, that we see a pattern that we really can't ignore anymore. So it is moving us, it's shifting us. And then the last part of this is like, what small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me restore faith in myself? So really, in a nutshell, I say this is about honoring the mess whilst not giving up on the sacred. And of course, sacredness, purity, and cleanliness, hygiene, etc. are very, very Virgoan themes. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to bring up the charts in a second, but before I do, I just want to say thank you to everybody so far, historically and currently, who has sponsored this channel and who may be a member of my two communities. I really appreciate you, because without you, this would be very, very different. So thank you. Anyway, let's have a look at these charts. So we've got these questions about honoring the mess whilst not giving up on the sacred. So this is the full moon in Aquarius chart, and you can see the full moon is up here in the 9th house of your chart. I should say, actually, just as I just spotted Mercury retrograde, he's going to be going direct on the 11th of August, and on that day I'm going to be releasing a new forecast, a mini forecast, all about Mercury going direct and what that represents, especially seeing as he's in opposition to Pluto. However, if you watch the end of this show, you'll get a link to it. So it's not on a full public release, but, you know, if you follow the link, you'll be able to get to it. So you might like a heads up. Anyway, this full moon is taking place in the 9th house, and the 9th house has everything to do with the outside world, the outside, I guess, ideas, And these are sort of visionary ideas. These could be ideas to do with politics, religion, spirituality, adventure, a life worth living. These are high context values. And so, and it's in opposition to the third house sun that is there. You've also got Mercury and Pluto in opposition across the third and the ninth house. So there's this very sort of third, ninth house polarity, which is really speaking of everything that's normal and expected and known. It's a lot about education. It's a lot about our local community. It's about our feeling of belonging, in opposition to this idea of what's unknown, what's foreign to us, where we don't belong, but maybe where we want to belong. So there's a real tension here. And I don't know how it's expressing in your chart, but around the time of the full moon, boy, oh boy, is it a big theme. Now, at the same time, Mars is in an exact opposition to Neptune and Saturn. And that's also creating more tension between the 5th and the 11th house polarity. So the 5th is all about your levels of joy, how you can have more joy, what you might be birthing, what you might want as a sort of very strong creative drive, versus Saturn and Neptune, which is, I think, bringing together a sense of vision with other people. Like you might have subscribed to, I don't know, like there might be something faith related going on, or similar, funnily enough, to this. The 9th and the 11th, they share something, I think, about idealism. And so to me, there's this kind of joint purposeful vision that you may have subscribed to, but there's also this very strong desire to do things on your own. So it's like, do I work alone, or am I going to co-create with other people on a much bigger vision? And so this again reminds me of you being here in this kind of known place versus the tension of being out there and doing something unknown. And that can involve other people, but you don't always know how it's going to go. So there are some very sort of tight tensions at the start of this 2-week forecast. Now you can see where this is moving to, because the moon's going to come right the way along, and then the sun and the moon are going to meet at the entrance or at the cusp to your 4th house. And this is all about how you feel at home, how you know you belong. It's about your house, it's your home, your family. It's a very, very private part of your chart. And interestingly, this is a very, very strong new start. Can you see this? These 2 green lines are showing that there's a yod formation, and yods are powerful. They're known as the finger of fate or the finger of God. And where it points to is showing you a point that's going to resolve something. So to me, this new moon isn't just any old new moon. This is a new moon that's really not casual. It's really, I think, describing effects that could be quite long term. You know, there are pressures here that are pointing to a new start, possibly in a new home with a new family situation. Maybe you're about to change the way you're living. Maybe there's a new arrival. I don't know. But to me, it feels like there's a new feeling at home. And you could interpret home as your stability, your roots. This could be a change about your roots and what you might do to get a greater sense of belonging and peace and gentleness at home. So to me, there is a real, and again, this is tying into the rebirth. The very next new moon after that, on the 23rd of September, is also going to be in the 4th house. So again, it's like doubly powerful new starts, rebirth at home. And if you think about it, this lowest part of your chart also represents a childhood. And so it could be a rebirth in terms of what's happened in your childhood, what you're moving beyond and through. This is very, very deep indeed. Now, these pressures are coming in to create this new start. So one of them is this Saturn and Neptune conjunction at the start of Aries. And Saturn here is really wanting to create something significant. There's this sort of desire to create something in a group or feel powerful within a group. And Neptune is possibly elevating, possibly about oneness, most likely about ideals. It feels like there's this sort of pressure, this idealistic pressure that's coming in from powerful people. And it could feel very significant that you've attracted some strong people into your world. And from what you've learned from them or what you've shared with them or how you're interacting and finding strength in numbers, and in networks, that is also informing why you might choose to change at home and have a rebirth at home, and maybe see your childhood differently at the same time. You've also got the pressure of Pluto. Now, Pluto is a long-term resident. He's going to be in this part of your chart, the ninth house, for another 19 years. He's going to be there for a long time. And he is systematically changing and transforming how you think about life, and death, and everything in between. And I mentioned already the philosophies, the politics, the desire for higher learning, language learning can come in, this deep need possibly to move to a completely different culture. You know, this is unknown, this is possibly foreign. It could be a really big adventure. You know, this is also great if you're a writer or a broadcaster, because your view right now is widened. And so you've got this wide view, this wide angled view, and sort of craving for all things foreign and new, for a different context. And on the other side, you've got this very, very powerful, transformative urge to create with a group or to relate because of a group. And they are both coming in, pointing the finger to show that now is the right time for some kind of significant shift in how you're living, and who's in your life, in fact. So this is very, very purposeful. Now, I do suggest that you kind of pay this some good attention, because after this new moon on the 23rd of August, the next big lunation is going to be the full moon across the 10th and the 4th houses. So at that time, you're going to get another, and it is an eclipse. So you're going to get another big reminder about issues to do with the home versus issues to do with being out of the home and in the career and in a place of recognition in a very sort of public way. And that could create some very big tensions. You know, these eclipses are moving points. They are things that significantly move us. And then the following new moon, which is on the 23rd of September, is up here. So again, there's an eclipse in the 4th house and an eclipse in the 10th. These are very, very strong places to have these eclipses on. So this particular new moon is like a prelude to it. It's giving you a preview even. You know, it's really giving you a bit of insight. Now, there's some other things I want to share, and then I'll start to wrap it up and answer those questions that I gave you at the start. But what I really notice here as well is these are some pretty important days. So the actual full moon day is like supersonic, you know, because you've got this, if I just go back to that chart, you've got this opposition between Mercury and Pluto, you've got the opposition between the sun and the moon, you've got a very exact opposition, or an exact opposition between Saturn and Mars, and also Neptune and Mars. I mean, that's outrageous. Now, a couple of days later, or say 3 days later, on the 12th, I think this like 10th to 12th is a really sort of zippy time. So we've got Mars exactly in a trine with Pluto. I should also say that Mars is also exactly in a trine with Uranus, actually on the day of the full moon as well. So this is very active right at the start of this 2-week period. And this is creating a lot of change in terms of surprising change in terms of your identity, in terms of there could even be a very stunning and new and sudden relationship. It could bring about a real big change in terms of your existing relationship, and this real desire to get out, to move, to really transform and change your life. So to me, this is really showing this need to move and transform yourself because of a move. So I don't know what that might mean, I remember actually, I moved to Portugal with my family 8 years ago this next September, and it was literally just after an eclipse. I think it might have been August, but there was an eclipse just before, and it was very much highlighting my 9th into my 10th house. And so these eclipses really can move you if that's what's already building, if there are other factors in your chart. So this is very speedy and quick astrology. Then on the 12th, we've got this beautiful conjunction between Venus and Jupiter in your 2nd house, which has a lot to do with money and self-value. We've also got Saturn in a sextile to Uranus exactly. So these are very important. These are showing a lot of quick movement, extreme movements, I guess change. But I mean, what else would you expect? You've got Uranus in your first house right now. That is the bastion of change. This is bringing change into your identity. So this first week, I would say, is really high octane, really, truly. Now, as we're coming into the second week, I really like this. I should say that, this Venus and Jupiter conjunction in the second is lining up into a trine with the North Node. And this trine is going on during this whole period. Jupiter and the North Node in a trine is absolutely divine. It's really helpful, connecting you from your money-making ideas right up to the top of your chart in terms of what it is you want to be creating in your world. Now, if you want to know more about these, by the way, I have a membership where I do a relationship forecast and also a career forecast every 2 weeks. And I also do a Monday to Friday daily forecast as well. So if you want extra info, check out my links below for that. You even get to try it and see if it's for you. So yeah, consider that if you like these and want to know even more about your career. But during this time, I really quite like this little bit here. So around the 19th, I'm just going to change my chart view now. So on the 19th, we've got the sun in an exact trine to Chiron. Where is it? Have I gone to the right chart? Oh, right. Yeah. See, this is actually the chart of the new moon. So the sun would be here on the 19th, making an exact trine to Chiron. To me, this is a sort of feeling of healing internally. This is giving you an opportunity to kind of share your pain or share any of your insecurities, but actually help somebody with it. It's almost from assisting other people, you're actually going through a healing process yourself. It's really powerful. I really like it. I really do enjoy these Sun trine Chiron energies because they are really there to reveal to you what you've been working on. And to me, this is about sort of pain and insecurities from where you belong, and how you fit in with the greater collective. And so that's something interesting to observe. It also might be something that's playing into this whole situation that I've already described. On the 22nd, the sun is moving into the sign of Virgo, and sort of lighting up your fourth house. And straight after that, we've got Venus in a square to Chiron. Chiron is in quite a few different aspects at the moment. He's in a long-term square with Pluto, which is really showing a lot of pre-existing tension. I mean, a lot of people are feeling the tensions of trying to make things work and sort of knuckling down on things and saying, this has to work and it has to happen this way. And I think when we do that, we're really becoming an obstacle to our success. But this Venus and Chiron square, I think, is feeling a little bit lonely, feeling like we maybe don't relate enough. It could help you sort of like move beyond this pattern altogether. But I think actually, as we're coming into the new moon, what I would really focus on if I was in your shoes is this, like the overall focal point to come back into your home, and that there is something that is fundamental, foundational about you that is changing right now. To me, it just feels like there's something so big that it's repeated again, a month later, including an eclipse. So to me, the landscape of your life at the moment, Gemini, is shifting. And what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your grounding, your foundations, your childhood, and what you've built your life on, hopefully it's secure bases, it's a secure foundation and not shifting sands. But to me, it feels like you are either really appreciating what you've got and doubling down on it, or you're making amendments because of the things that aren't quite right. So what I want to do now, just quickly, is to go back to the original questions, because like I said at the start, this full moon is revealing the true mess of what might be going on for you and some of your masks. So in terms of what mask has been your survival, I really think one of the ways you've been masking like in terms of, it's such a big question. I really see that how you would prefer to express yourself is more from a home base, more from a place of naturalness, more from a place of simplicity and peace, and actually to enjoy life not from a place that's busy, not from a place that's hurried, not from a place that has lots of social pressures on you. I do think this Saturn and Neptune energy, I mean, it's not completely finalized, you know, it's going to be on this cusp until way after February of next year. And so there's this kind of uncertainty around social conditions and social masks. I think that's a really big theme with this Aquarius full moon. So I do think you felt under pressure to perform in a certain way, and also there's some very powerful people in this part of your chart. And so I think the ability to drop a survival mask and to really reveal yourself as you truly are. I mean, Uranus in your first house is absolutely going to drop some of those masks. It will drop it very quickly. And sort of expressing yourself freely, like Uranus is quite wild in the first house. It's quite free. It's disorganized. It sort of like cuts through BS. It really does. And it allows you to be freaky. It allows you to be weird. It really allows you to be yourself and to own who you really are. And so I do think that's a very strong theme. What truth about myself or my life has become impossible to ignore? And what would shift it? Right. Let's go back again. I think the thing that's become impossible to ignore is the tension between having to do things because of what you think you should do. Remember, Gemini ascendants are actually quite social. You know, the desire to kind of fit in, like the Gemini energy is quite rational. It's very sparkly. I mean, it's great fun having lots of Gemini friends. I've got loads. I love this sort of Gemini energy. It is quite rational, and it sees everything and it reacts to every situation in real time. And it's actually quite energized by lots of social interactions. And I think as such, it can get really programmed with, oh, this is how this is all done. What I really see here, as in what you can't ignore anymore, and that is your desire to take action on your own and to like devise your own activities, devise your own creativity. I mean, Geminis are very good at doing things in teams. Really what's being suggested now is maybe you're not as sociable as you think you are, or maybe you're not the extrovert. You might not be the introvert, but maybe you're an omnivert, that you need to have more styles than just the, sure, I'll participate. There's a real need to sort of go much deeper into yourself and to take full responsibility for all of your projects, which is really hard to do when other people are involved. And so I think the more you do take responsibility to one aspect of your life and to really take action on it, I think that will start the shift rolling. You'll get to practice it and play with it. The last question then, what small sacred act of cleansing and reordering could help me come back into my faith? Well, I guess the last thing, the small act of faith, I actually really think there's something very strong here with this Venus and Jupiter conjunction in a trine to the North Node. To me, this is about trusting yourself and like restoring your faith in terms of your self-esteem. I think it's really difficult to really know yourself when you're learning about yourself because of feedback coming in from everybody else. To me, it's putting the power of your self-perception in the hands of other people that might say, oh, you're so fun, you're so intelligent, you're so this, you're so that. And actually, I think the ability to listen to yourself and to say, oh, wow, it's amazing you've done that. Like have conversations to yourself and say, wow, you must be like this or you must be like that. I think if you can talk to yourself about who you believe yourself to be, and start listening to maybe your own generous opinions of yourself and spend time informing yourself of who you are, not taking it from everyone else. I think that would be a really helpful, generous, kind and forgiving way of being. To me, these two, in particular Jupiter going through Cancer, I think is helpful. As you're turning around how you feel about yourself and coming back into a renewed confidence, this is going to have a knock-on effect with how you're seen in the world. And so I think you're changing. I think you're maybe dropping one of your faces a little bit at the moment, you know, like the twins. Maybe you're kind of integrating both sides of yourself and coming back into this central person. So yes, they are my thoughts about this next 2-week period. And like I said, if you want to hear more about the Mercury opposition to Pluto, I think it's about 3 minutes. Just keep watching. Lots of love. Bye for now.